I'm Aaron Greenspan. I run Plainsight, which is a product of my company, Think Computer. So when I first started learning about the law, this is kind of how I thought about it, as this impregnable castle that was very kind of authoritative and official and impossible to access. Obviously there's a moat, and it's got big walls and it's hard to get in. But if you manage to get in somehow, you notice that there are some issues with the metaphorical castle. So there's spare problems, and the wallpaper could use replacing, and the floor isn't actually there, and rooms are kind of in need of renovation. And then there's the people. The people are really bad. So there's a lot that we can improve about the law. And so Justice Brandeis said sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants, electric light the most efficient policeman. And I think that's a very apt quote. So what plain sight is the idea that the law should be in plain sight. To this crowd, this is nothing new. But it's actually easier said than done. So I've been working on it for about 2 years. It has a number of features, and I'll go through some of the basic ones quickly. It has issues where you can submit problems and solutions, case dockets and documents, profiles of businesses and nonprofits, government, law firms, and inventors. The law firm one is fun because you can see their whole client list, which they're not often happy to disclose. And intellectual property, there's a lot of assignment data, including all of Intellectual Ventures shell companies. And then there are tags for basically everything, and lots of data cleanup, and very bad artificial intelligence that lets us merge very poor misspellings together. So those have been there for a while, and they'll continue to be there. And I'm going to tell you about some new features, which are all these: motion sensor, CCMS, patent applications, bad lawyers, and standards, which are, I think you'll find some of this related to the talks that were just given. So motion sensor, we'll see if my internet works here, is a technology that basically answers the question, how good is your lawyer? And how fair is this judge? So the idea is that every day there's lots of motions filed in courts, and then they get recorded in dockets. And in the docket there's a lot of text, but no one actually says this motion was granted or denied, or granted in part, denied in part, or terminated, or rendered as moot. There's all these options in a very structured way. So what this does is it actually reads through the docket of a case, and it will tell you for a given lawyer or a given judge what is actually going on with these motions. So Judge Davila happens to be a judge in a case that I'm dealing with right now. I can go to motion sensor for his profile. This is a pro feature, so this is something that we charge for lawyers or for pro se litigants at a much more discounted rate. And so what it's doing, slower than I'd like, is actually going through and looking at all the motions that have been filed that can be identified for Judge Davila, and how he ruled on them and how long it took him to rule on those. So maybe one of these days it'll get around to telling me. This is the danger of doing a live demo. But essentially, what you should see is a graph for any given type of motion, like motion to dismiss, motion to, file sanctions or whatever, saying he grants them so often, he denies them so often, and I'm kind of sad that it's not updated. But in the interest of time, we'll go back and check. CCMS, I took some screenshots, so it'll be a little bit easier. The California Case Management System is a $575 million debacle. I don't know how many people have heard about it. But basically, all of us paid tax money that went toward nothing. So different California counties have different case systems, if they have systems at all. This is a case from San Francisco. This is San Mateo. Riverside charges, I think, something like $1 a page. You can get a page free if there's a 1 icon. And this is actually Ventura County. This is CCMS version 3, the one before version 4 that killed the whole thing. And I don't know if you can see this, but down here, you'll notice that the date is actually part of this text field. There's no independent date field for the docket. And, the docket is a timeline, so it's kind of surprising that that's not there. Anyway, you get the idea. There's like all these different systems. California citizens now pick up a tab to finance new case management projects. This is my personal favorite. This is Fresno County. And I actually take some credit for this red box because this disclaimer underneath it says that this contains trade secrets and is subject to a confidentiality agreement. The unauthorized possession, use, reproduction, distribution, display, or disclosure of this material or the information contained herein is prohibited, not for official use, and you have to accept another disclaimer. So this is a public site with public information. So I emailed the CEO of Xerox, which owns ACS, which owns Systems and Computer Technology, and I asked her if she could remove that disclaimer, and they added the red box instead. So anyway, on Plainsight, which has now the thing I wanted 5 minutes ago, I'll get motion for sanctions for Judge Davila in one tab, and then here I want to show you California cases. So if you go to the cases page, you get this map of the country. If you go to California, we now have 6 California counties that all have about 750,000 dockets in a standardized format. So I think there's 58, maybe, is that right? 58 counties in California. So if we've got 6 of them, I think that means that we're entitled to like that much percentage of the 575 million. But if you click on a county, you can see the graph of when those cases were filed and the dockets. Some of these let you access the documents for free. Some of them, as I mentioned, don't. San Francisco, you can access documents for free, but only up to 18 pages at a time or something. It gets tricky. And actually, surprisingly, some of these counties store judge information, so you can actually view cases by judge. Many of them don't, so you just have no idea what judge is hearing what case. So that's one project that's been interesting. Patent applications is another one that's kind of ongoing. So patent applications are available on the USPTO website, but they don't have URLs because when the USPTO last updated its website, it removed that feature and it replaced it with a post-only form that uses Java in the background to dynamically generate the page you see, and so it's basically completely inaccessible unless you, it's just, you can see it, but only the way they want you to. So Google hosts patent application data in bulk, but it's not indexed on Google. So you can't actually search for a patent application by number and find it. Google Patents stores the granted patents, but the applications themselves are not there. And there's a reason for this. It's because the USPTO stores patent application data as images. So every time somebody files a page with text, it's automatically converted to an image. They do this for every page, and so the entire database of applications, I would say something like probably 7 or 8 terabytes of images, even though most of these are just text. So it's a lot of work to deal with all this. So I decided I wanted to start dealing with it. And if you go back to that map, you go to Washington, D.C., we've now added the Patent and Trademark Office as a venue. It's not court, but this will be updated eventually. And while we're waiting for this to load, because it's going to take a while, I can go back and, hey, there's the graph that you were supposed to see before. So it shows you for motion for sanctions, denied 57%, granted 14. Now, the data isn't perfect because it's hard to find every case the judge has ever seen, pay surcharges per page, so not everything's accessible. But it does a pretty good job of telling you, you're going to wait between 21 and 130 or 188 days, and chances are he's not going to grant your motion. So this is very useful information. This is amazing. So you can see the server is actually parsing this right now. We're up to late 2000. It starts in 1978 roughly, and it's about 2.1 million patent applications. So now, there's a lot of examiners. So you'll be able to see examiner profiles as well. You want to see patent applications from 1994. The upshot of this is that everything's in the same kind of docket. So it's basically a universal docketing system. It doesn't matter if it's a court or an agency of some sort. It stores the lawyers the same way, it stores the docket entries the same way, and it makes it much easier to find what you're looking for. moving right along, this is a quick tour through what it takes to view a patent application in Westlaw. So I wanted to look for this application number 093481103. And the first thing it told me is that I didn't check one of these boxes. So I checked a bunch of boxes to search through the right database. And it says, sorry, you can't search through multiple databases at once. So you choose one database, and this one is US patent applications, which is exactly what I'm looking for. It says, sorry, no results. And then I tried the name of the patent application, and it found every other patent application that mentioned a transport packet parser, which was not what I was looking for, but I took the first result anyway. You can see it's just text. So, Westlaw has this reputation as being fantastic, but this is terrible. And you click to order the file history, and you haven't paid for that. If you want the assignment, it's more text. It's very hard to understand. So to give you a contrasting view, if you look at the same application on PlainSight, and hopefully this will load a little bit faster, you've got your metadata here, and the docket right now is a link. I'm hoping to put the result embedded in the tab. You've got the assignments right in this next tab with links to profiles for each of the, the assigner and the assignee, their respective instruments. You can click on that link to see that particular assignment in detail, which is a lot easier to understand. And we've got some of the logos from bigger companies which file a lot. And so this is all kind of interrelated, and I think it's one of the better patent tools that's out there now. Bad lawyers. So I've hired about 30 lawyers since starting Think in 1998. At least I think it's way too many. And I've come across a few not so good ones. So I've created a tag called Lawsuits Involving Lawyers.